A month had passed since Celine had moved into the Bronste Palace, and she and Grayson had gotten married only a week ago. They both had decided to let their feelings grow more before tying the knot. She had thought, after they were married, things would get weird between them. He seemed to be really caring about her, and it still took her by surprise. The day after they spent their first night together, he had told her to stay in bed and relax until she felt comfortable enough to move. He had also apologized for being a bit rough, but she told him she was fine. She laughed softly, remembering how red his face had been when he apologized. "Celine, I think he is ready for you to meet him." She nodded, her face growing more serious. At last she was gaining the information to put her father in prison. She sighed. "Let's get this over with." Bimmy and Celine headed for the guest room and found their informant sitting silently while drinking tea. The man glanced up and smiled at Sal, giving her chills. "Hello, Queen Celine. It's a pleasure meeting you again," he said, standing before giving her a small bow. Jace smiled, his long black hair tied up, his green eyes running over Celine's body. "Jace of the Blood Tavern, please keep your gaze work-focused." He shrugged. "What would be the fun of that? Besides, you wanted the dirty deeds of your father. I'm the only one with enough talent for such a feat, so please deal with my gaze." Celine stared at him for a second. "I have a side question. How do you keep tabs on such things?" His grin was still unsettling. "We use blood memory magic, my lady. Every single one of my staff have blood magic. Though, I can assure you, we never use it for bad purposes." She doubted his words. Blood magic was very rare and hard to control. Most users ended up going insane and killing themselves. Others, well, they turned into psychos who enjoyed killing. Something told her this man had probably went on a few killing sprees, but somehow managed to turn sane again. "Whenever you wish to take down your father, all you have to do is pour this vial onto a projection orb. This will play out in front of everyone to see. Not a single soul will doubt the deeds of your father. I left out the major beatings you took, so you should at least be thankful to me for that." Celine paled. "Just how much have you seen, Jace?" Her words cold as she stared at him. "Enough to know you can handle your own, even if someone tortured you to death." She frowned, taking the vial from him, but he grabbed her wrist, pulling her towards him. "If you ever get tired of Grayson, or he cast you aside, I'll always take you." She pulled back quickly. "Thank you, but I don't think I need that offer. If anyone else heard that, you'd be dead." Bimmy glanced nervously between them. Jace smiled. "I'll keep that in mind, but my words won't change." He turned, leaving Celine and Bimmy. "Nice meeting you, Queen of Bronste." Bimmy waited for him to leave the room. "Celine, that man, he—" "It's fine. Let him leave. We have what we need. A little bit of disrespect means nothing to me." Bimmy frowned. "I still don't like it," she grumbled. Celine sighed. "Well, now that we have that out of the way, what do you say about making a trip into town?" Bimmy wondered what she had in mind. "Why, though? Oh, is it because you're missing the master?" Celine blushed. No, I just want to let him know that our plan can finally be set in motion. Also, it couldn't have happened at a more perfect time. As you know, my sister's birthday is just around the corner. What better gift than to give her the kingdom?" "Are you sure you want to do it on her birthday?" Celine nodded. "I am. She knows as soon as I got the evidence we would make our move, and as soon as this meeting was set up, I sent a messenger bird to her. She responded with it being okay to ruin her birthday party." "You and your sister are truly odd when it comes to being royals." Sal smiled. "Thank you for the compliment." Bimmy rolled her eyes. "Then shall we head out? Do you want to take a carriage or ride?" Right, of course, it's faster that way. Plus, I've been wanting to get a gift for you. Celine, I don't need a gift. Sal's glare silenced any more protest. But if that is what you wish, we will do so, she said meekly, making Celine smile. Glad you agree with me. They rode into town. Last Celine knew, Gray was handling a trading matter with a few of the ships at the dock. There had been a few issues due to monsters in the sea, and some of the products had gone bad thanks to the longer time it took. They came to a halt when she heard his voice and saw him talking about what could be done with the goods that had gone bad. The captain seemed thankful that he was still getting paid. She hopped off Zin, heading their way. So what was ruined? The captain turned, bowing to Celine. Greetings to Her Highness. The products that were ruined the most were the pears. I think some sort of bug may have been on them before they were sold to us. Grayson has graciously offered to pay for them even though they aren't worth anything. Celine shook her head. Nonsense. I'm sure they're still worth paying for. They aren't simply trash. Can you show them to me, Captain? He nodded, leading her to the pears. She picked up a few of them, examining them. Some of them are rotten, but the others are just damaged. While they aren't suitable for people, they can still be fed to horses and hogs. This way they don't go to waste, and the really bad ones can be tossed aside. Grayson and the captain stared at Celine for a bit. What? They both shook their heads, smiling. Sorry, it's just not anything we would have thought about, Grayson said with a shrug. Usually when something like this happens, we just ignore it, as it isn't the captain's fault. So we just pay and then get rid of it, never thinking of trying to find a different use for them. Celine laughed slightly. Well, that's why you have me, though I came here to talk to you about something else. Grayson noticed the look in her eyes and nodded. Okay, I was almost done here, and then I planned to go find you. This just saves me time. Captain, I think you know how to handle the rest. The man nodded. Thank you very much, Grayson, and thank you, Queen Sal. Just call me Celine. Anyone trustworthy to Grayson also holds my trust. Thank you and your men for fighting off those creatures to bring these special items in. The people of the kingdoms likely don't understand your struggles. The captain blushed. We are just glad that even a few people appreciate what we do. I will do my best to bring back even better goods next time, he said with a bow before turning to his crew and barking out orders for them to follow. Grayson turned to Celine. Have you eaten yet? No, as soon as I was done talking with Jace, I came here. Gray frowned. You were alone with that man? Celine laced an arm through his. No, Bimmy never left my side. But he did get really close to her, Bimmy added quickly, making Gray's frown deepen. Did he touch you? His voice was bitter. Ever since Jace had kissed Celine's hand for longer than the usual time, he had been guarded around Jace. Celine sighed. You know as well as I do, I have no interest in him. I hate any time he touches me. Gray nodded. I know, but I can't help it. The look he gives you makes me want to kill him. I would have met him with you if I didn't need to handle the shipment. It's fine. Besides, Jace got us the information we needed, so now we won't have to deal with him. Grayson paused. So, we can take my father down at my sister's birthday ball. She's already agreed. So we make our move a week from now. Celine nodded, and he could see the relief in her eyes. Then let's make this one birthday they'll never forget. She smiled. Oh, I'm sure they won't. The week had flown by, and it was already the day of Valerie's birthday. And though Bimmy insisted on making Celine pretty, Celine was able to talk her out of most things that would make movement difficult for her. Under her simple gown, she wore a pair of pants in case she had to fight her father, which she figured would happen. Gray squeezed her hand as their carriage bumped along the road. Are you okay? She smiled softly. Surprisingly, I'm nervous. Nervous something might happen to you or Val. I don't want anything like that to happen. Grayson chuckled. I'm sure your sister feels the same way. I know I only met her once at our wedding, but she seemed to be worrywart. Sal giggled. I wonder who else is like that. He blushed. Only when it concerns your safety. I feel like I can't take my eyes off you. Celine tugged on his hand, pulling him closer and resting her head on his shoulder. I feel the same when it comes to you, silly. When the carriage came to a halt, Sal took in a deep breath. Let's end his tyranny. According to Val's message, she had already informed the soldiers of the plan. Grayson stepped out of the carriage before turning and offering her his hand. "My queen?" It made Celine smile. "Why, thank you," she said, taking his hand and stepping out. Her eyes landed on her sister, and she was surprised when she saw Gatosh at her side. Last she had heard, he had left, and it seemed like they hadn't kept her fully informed. Gatosh and Val both smiled at her, making her own smile grow. Celine could tell that Val was practically shaking in place with the urge to rush her and pull her into a hug. She was pretty sure if Gatosh wasn't holding her arm, then she would have done so already. There were eyes that watched the two sisters approach each other. "It's been a long time, Queen Celine." No one knew that Valerie had slipped away to be at Celine's wedding. "That it has. Glad to see you're good in health, Princess Valerie. Congratulations are in order for your 25th birthday." Valerie gave a small courtesy. "Thank you. I'm thrilled that you could make it." Celine smiled when she noticed their father glaring at her. "Oh, I wouldn't miss it for the world, Princess Valerie. Your birthday is something to be celebrated by many." Val had to stop herself from laughing at her sister's pointed words. King Dalian clapped his hands, forcing a smile. "Ladies and gentlemen, now that my oldest daughter has finally graced us with her late presence, we may all move inside to the dance hall." Celine felt Grayson's muscles tense against her arm, and she gently rested her other hand over his. "It's fine," she whispered. They moved inside the palace, music playing at a variety of slow to fast-paced songs. People laughed and danced, all eyes stealing glances, though, as Grayson and Celine stepped out on the dance floor. The two of them moved gracefully to the beat of the music, creating their own path, lost in their own world. Gatosh watched, and Val smiled at him. "Why don't you ask her for a dance? Confess to her, even though you know you will be rejected, at least those feelings won't be weighing on you any longer." His brow furrowed. "Yes, because I'm sure Grayson will let me touch her." Valerie laughed. "You know Sal felt bad for leaving how she did. Why do you think I tracked you down and asked you to be my escort tonight?" She glanced around, making sure no one saw them before pulling him into a quick hug. "What are you?" "Go to her and tell her how you feel. You will feel so much better. I had been rooting for you before all this happened. Even though she's like me and we both see you as a brother, that doesn't mean she won't listen to you." The music came to a stop before another song began to play. "Thank you, Val." She nodded, waving him on. "Go get her, boy." It made Gatosh chuckle before he approached Celine. "May I interrupt?" Celine glanced at Gatosh. "Do you mind, Gray?" There was a frown on his face, but he nodded. "I'll keep my eye on you, though, Gatosh." Celine laughed before taking Gatosh's hand, and the two of them circled around the floor. Grayson headed towards Val. "I take it you put him up to this, sister-in-law?" The smile she gave him answered without her saying it. "He needs to get those feelings off his chest." Grayson moved to head for the two before Val grabbed his arm. "Don't. Gatosh would never do anything to destroy her happiness, Gray. He knows very well how much Celine has come to love you." Grayson bit his lip. "Fine." Valerie smiled. "Now, how about a dance with me?" He nodded. "Can't reject the future queen of an allied kingdom." Valerie smiled more. Gatosh was looking everywhere but at Celine right now. His body was stiff, which was making dancing somewhat hard to do. "What's wrong, Gat?" He froze. "Okay, this isn't working. Maybe we should stop." She went to pull away, but he didn't let her, and took in a deep breath. Sorry, Sal." She frowned. "For what?" Now his green eyes stared into her hazel ones. There was a somewhat sad, bitter look on his face. "Your sister told me to confess something. I wanted to run from it, hoping I'd forget, but even after a month, they're still there. Hell, even once I tell you, I might not get over these feelings, but at least you will know." Confusion marred Celine's face. "I love you, Celine. Now wait, before you say anything. I know you love Grayson, and I would never do anything to try and sway your affection for him. I just wanted to let you know that the day you left, my world crumbled. I should have told you before that. I know even then you probably would have rejected me. It felt like a weight had been lifted from his chest, and he sighed. Sorry, I know that's a lot to take in. There was a smile on Celine's face. Silly, I knew you liked me. I know it was cruel how I left. Sorry for that. I thought if I left that way your feelings would die off. Gatosh stared at her. You knew how I felt? She nodded and he blushed. Well, that is embarrassing. She laughed softly. Sorry for not rejecting your feelings properly. I just wasn't sure how to tell you no. I had been so worried that you would hate me and I couldn't afford to lose my best friend. Gatosh had expected to feel a huge amount of pain, but somehow he just felt relief. I'm glad to see you're happy, even if it isn't with me, though I will say if Grayson ever hurts you, I will kick his ass and protect you. Oh, really? Gatosh turned pale when he turned around to see Val and Grayson right next to them. But both Val and Sal began to giggle, making the two men frown. They shrugged, unsure as to what was so funny, before switching partners and enjoying the music. Late evening rolled around without much problem, and then the announcements began. I wanted to say thank you to all who came to my birthday. I know ending things on a bad note isn't good, but there is one thing that must be announced while you are all here this fine evening. King Dalian frowned, standing up as his daughter began to talk. Valerie, what is this? He asked, moving towards her, only to be stopped by both Grayson and Gatosh. Queen Celine, if you would, the floor is now yours. Celine stepped forwards. On behalf of my sister, I will also say thank you all for coming as well. There is no way that this would have worked if you hadn't come. We wanted to let you all enjoy this party for a while before getting down to a rather serious matter. Those in the room began to chatter, wondering what on earth was going on. I, as the Queen of Bronste and the daughter of King Dalian, have come to inform you that my father will be removed from the throne as of this evening. There were gasps and even louder murmurs about what all of this meant. Just what do you think you're doing, Celine? Her father yelled at her, shoving Grayson and Gatosh out of his way. My father was the cause of the war between Bronste and Hastella. This orb holds all of my father's evil deeds. How can you act this way to me, Celine? I am your father! Oh, really? So once I play this orb, it won't show all these nobles the horrid deeds you've done. It won't play back my past, which would haunt any normal person. It won't play back how you tricked the previous king of Bronste into buying drugs and making the poor man go insane, killing his own youngest son and wife, making my husband kill his own father. Grayson froze, mid-step, looking at Celine, whose face held nothing but the truth. I wanted to tell you somehow before this, but I couldn't. Gray wasn't sure what to think. The information was hard to take in. The distraction was all Celine's father needed. He pulled out a long dagger, rushing Celine. I knew I should have killed you the day you were born. Celine hadn't truly expected him to attack so quickly. She was able to block his aim for her heart with her own dagger. She didn't have time to notice the second one, and the next thing she knew, its blade slashed over her face. Celine! Several voices screamed as she fell back. She covered her face with her hands, not sure of what was happening. The pain was excruciating. She couldn't tell if her eyes were open or not. There was only darkness and agony. She screamed. Someone touched her, but she smacked the hand away. Celine, it's me. Gray? Yes, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have froze like I did, and now... He pulled her into a hug. We will get you to a healer soon. Your father is under control. She heard Valerie's worried cries. There's so much blood. Gatosh pulled Valerie away from her sister, knowing she would only get in the way. Guards, take Dalian away. Lock him in a prison and make sure that the servants who are in line with him are locked away as well, Gat ordered. I know all of the servants who are with him. I can tell you their names so none of the others are wrongfully imprisoned. Don't worry about it right now, Sal, both him and Grayson said. They glanced at each other. They both felt the same way. They felt like they had failed Celine. Get her to the medic building now, Grayson. She needs to be treated right away. No, Grayson, help me stand. The people need to know. They need to see the orb play. You're still worried about that? It's important. Grayson frowned but helped her do as she asked. Everyone, I know this must be a shock to you all, but you must see this with your own eyes. There was silence as the vial of liquid was poured on the orb and the images played before them. Bimmy had brought in bandages to wrap around Celine's head. I already informed Matilda, but she can't make it here in time and the healers here seem to have left. Grayson groaned. Celine, let's head back home. I'm worried about you. You're still losing too much blood. Celine didn't respond, though, and that's when he noticed her falling. Celine! Celine woke up, blinking, and she noticed there was still pain and darkness. She felt her face. Oh, perhaps that's why I can't see. She could feel that the bandages were wrapped around the top of her head and stopped at her nose so that she could still breathe right. She did her best to try and sit up on her own when she heard the door open. Celine, you're awake now! She frowned. What do you mean? Grayson sat down next to her. You've been passed out for 4 days, love. Do you have any idea how much Matilda has been doing to try and fix you? There was a knock on the door. It's Matilda. Oh, good. Perhaps she's found out something. Matilda frowned as she came in, and she knelt down next to the bed. Matilda? Grayson didn't like the look on her face. I'm sorry. I can't heal my queen's eyes. Her voice shook as she spoke. The damage done was too great, and she wasn't taken to a healer right away, so that didn't help. I left to try and find some way to fix your eyes, but... Grayson felt sick. So I'll be blind now? There was a sadness in her voice. I won't be able to fight like I once did. I can't protect our people. It felt like someone had ripped his heart out. He pulled Celine into a hug. You don't need to worry about fighting anymore, Celine. I'll be here for you, protecting you, and guiding you through even the hardest of times, always. She clung to him as tears soaked the bandages, stinging her face. You can't go back on that, you know. Grayson chuckled. When have I ever broke my word? She smiled softly. Never? He leaned in, kissing her softly. And I will keep it that way. And with that, Finding True Love has come to a conclusion. I hope you guys enjoyed following along as much as I enjoyed writing it for you. As I always say, if you haven't, like, comment, and subscribe. And if you have any friends that you think might be interested, show it to them. Any sort of support is greatly appreciated. I've already started working on another short story, and I hope to have it posted, well, part 1 of it posted, in the same timeline that I've been working at. So, keep your eyes peeled for that. Until next time, Nita Loon out.